introduce us to yourself.
My name is Ami Kozak. My handle is AJ Comedy. I'm a comedian, musician, impressionist, singer, songwriter, composer. Bunch of different things, bunch of different lanes, but all in the realm of entertainment and creating fun stuff for everybody. So, you recently been in the world of content creation on a pretty regular basis. So, I can give you the whole backstory as we dig in, but that's my 3-second pitch.
So when you say recently, how recently do you mean?
So my story is that I've been a professional musician for the good part of a decade, doing a lot of
Hmm.
music for film and television. I'm based in Los Angeles. I have a band here called Distant Cousins, and we've done a lot of work in film and TV. We've had a lot of our songs used in commercials, different ad campaigns, theme songs for some TV shows. We play locally in LA a lot. I mean, not recently, but we perform live in LA and around the country when that was a thing. Remember live music? But now it's live streams. That's okay. And then more recently, I say recently because I started TikToking pretty consistently this year. I said to myself as a little New Year's resolution, January 2020, I was like, let me check out this TikTok thing. And I'm going to just post every day, at least 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, take off on the weekends. Start posting some other areas of my creative interests. And I always have been doing, comedy and impersonations more casually as more of a social thing with friends. All the friends I've ever had growing up all know I've done that stuff. But professionally, I had performed a little bit of sketch comedy stuff over the years, but mainly the pro stuff has been music. And my other child that was been, neglected, so to speak, over the years, not given enough attention, was this impersonations, impressions, and comedic stuff that I always had kind of churning around in my brain. So, long story short, I was posting on TikTok regularly, stumbled upon a few impressions that really clicked. We can talk about that too. But, that sort of birthed my other lane here, which is the comedy side, AJ Comedy, which really kicked into gear this year.
So that was one of my main questions because I've been tracking your music for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just transitioned into comedy. So have you always been very big on impersonations, or is it something that you were just playing around in the bathroom one day?
Oh, doing that kind of stuff was always central to my own sort of identity. That stuff I've always done, impersonations, impressions. But like I said, it was more of a it was more expressed in a social thing, not in a professional way where I was out there performing comedy. I've mostly been out there performing music on stage. That's been my main focus for a while and my main endeavor. And occasionally I was doing some comedic stuff here and there, but it wasn't until these social media platforms like TikTok gave me this sort of stage to bring it out into the world. And then my plan initially when things were starting to happen on TikTok was to take it out into the live circuit and work some of the local stand-up clubs here. However, we all know what happened there. So in the meantime,
Yeah.
I've just been in the lab cooking up as much comedic content as possible, really developing and growing the audience so that when I go back out and maybe do some stand-up and put the stuff into a live act, so to speak, maybe people will come out. We
So
shall
do you
see.
find that being a TikToker,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to post content without having expectations since you do have a large following?
Um, well, I didn't always have a large following, so the hard part is being consistent. And what I would say is the one thing I always got wrong about social media historically in using it with whether it was with my musical projects or things like that was that I looked at it as a promotional tool. These were just things that I could say, hey guys, I have a show coming up. Come check it out. We're playing at such and such here and there. But once I started using TikTok, I realized that TikTok especially, but really all of them are stages in and of themselves. They're places to put out good creative content as an end in and of itself, not as a means to get fans or grow an audience to come somewhere else to check out things. It would be as if you put on a concert and told everybody to come to the club. And then when they came to the club, you went, so this is what our music is about. You should come hear it on Spotify. And everyone's like, but we're here at the club. We want to see you now. So
Yeah.
I started realizing it was like a wake up call to me that I was like, wow, these social media platforms are just ways to broadcast what you do already. There's no reason to, have to plug yourself on them. And I guess through comedy, I was able to discover that I could use these platforms as a way to actually, and it seems so common sense, right? But I think a lot of people, especially musicians, you look at them, the relationship to social media is very much a promotional one. And it's icky because we don't want to do that. We just want to make music and have people enjoy it. We don't want to
Yeah.
say, hey guys, come check out. I just did. So with comedy, I was able to just really put out, as an end in and of itself, using these platforms as my means to do it. Put out the content and using the platform, as a stage to feature what I was doing. And through the consistent, I would say through the consistent posting and being present on TikTok, for example, and then feeding that to Instagram, that's how I was able to grow. I was on Instagram for about a year doing sort of sporadic posting here and there. And my YouTube, like the numbers were almost nothing, because every once in a while I would just throw something up. And I was like, you know what? It's really about the consistent and persistent grind of doing it. And like you said about expectations, not having those expectations initially, just putting the best work out that you can, that you feel is the best representation of what you're doing creatively. And as you make yourself a presence on a consistent basis, the platforms themselves start to favor your content because the engagement starts to go up. You start to get early fans that you become a regular. You can't just, another mistake a lot of creators make, or artists, musicians, whoever, they put all their energy into this big high production value piece of content, and they throw it up and they say, okay, let's see what happens. And if they never post and never do anything, nothing happens. They have these expectations that because it's a really good piece, and it a lot of the times it's a great video or it's a great song. But if you're not using these platforms regularly, if you're not a frequent, attendee of the club of these social media spaces, then the spaces don't know who you are. You're just anonymous to them, and you're anonymous to all the people using it. So it's all about consistency. And that consistency is like it's like fitness. You build up a certain ability and a sensibility for how to use the platforms. You get a sense of yourself and what you're good at and what works, what resonates with the audience, with the people as you grow. And you have to use it all the time and go through that very uncomfortable phase. It's like lifting those weights that are really uncomfortable to lift in the beginning. And then you like work out for 2 days, and then you're like, what's going on? I don't see anything. I guess working out doesn't work. It's like nobody says that. It's like all of a sudden, 6 months later, someone goes, hey, you're in really good shape. So how did you do that? Do you have expectations when you work out to get in good shape? Because you're like in good shape. It's like, well, no, there's been 6 months leading up to you seeing me like this. And over time, you don't see it, but it's a gradual thing until somebody all of a sudden sees you after not seeing you a while, and you've got this following. You're in shape. You've primed yourself to have an audience that you can now cater service to and develop with. So that's a long answer. Sorry, I ramble a little bit.
No, I love that answer. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna rewatch this and write that down because I need that.
Mm-hmm.
What is your daily life schedule?
That's so funny you asked that. Literally today. No, it's just because like a couple of hours ago, what happened was, when I was doing primarily music most of the time, it was, having to deal with deadlines for projects and different kinds of things that were going on, whether it was a commercial I had to do music for. Those turnarounds are very, very quick. You have maybe a day or 2 days to turn around pieces of music for stuff that's going out to clients and things like that. So I was busy with that. Once the content creation started to happen, and I did this, the story goes that when I posted this one video, I was doing TikTok consistently on a regular basis, and then I post this one time in my car. I throw up the video, and I'm like, you know what? There's a Gary Vee post that came across my feed. I'm like, let me try Gary Vee for my daily impression, because I was just doing daily different people. And can I curse on this feed? What's the deal there? Do I have your permission to do an authentic Gary Vee?
No, please curse. I want you to curse. Please curse.
So I'm in my car, and I'm like, should I throw this up? So I just throw my phone up. I'm like, I'm just so sick of fucking 24-year-olds coming out and like they're complaining, right? Like that they're not killing it, okay? Like, if you want to win, fucking move to Louisiana and start a fucking peanut butter brand. Like, fucking peanut butter. So I look at this post and I'm like, I'm like, my thumb is going like this. Delete, try another one, maybe do somebody else. So that's another thing. It was like, part of it was not overthinking anything. It doesn't mean you don't have standards for what you're putting out, but don't let the overthinking cripple your consistency. You know what I'm saying? I see somebody here also likes the Jordan Peterson. Thank you so much. I couldn't resist.
No, can I say something?
Yeah. So I don't want to get off.
How I found you.
Let me wrap up the point, and then I want to hear what you're saying.
No, go ahead.
I just I threw it out there, and then, you know, that was after, you know, many, many videos and maybe 2 or 3 months of posts that were getting a couple of views, 50 views, 100 views. I scanned my phone, 10,000, 15,000, 20. It was having that moment, and I was like, oh my gosh. Then it gets featured on Barstool Sports on Instagram, which was like to 7 million people. And then over that weekend, it's sort of that 10 years to an overnight success sort of thing, where all of a sudden now I felt like I actually had this audience that I can engage with. And ever since then, I've been gradually building it. But the point is, to your original question, my schedule has been crazy because once you bite the beast of the social media thing, and like I said, consistency, like now it's like there's this healthy pressure to keep up with it and make sure that my audience is getting, you know, daily doses of laughter and good stuff. And I feel that, and I want to put it out. Like, so now that expectation, so to speak, what's good about it is I know that there's people who are going to see this stuff, and that's very satisfying to me. I want to keep making it. It's like a good motivator. But as far as scheduling, it requires me to get on top of really parsing it out, because it's been a crazy bit of a, like, I've got to that point where I'm just like, especially with quarantine and everything being a mess and disorienting, I like sat down today and I made a calendar of like how I'm going to block out my days, because it's been so reactive. Oh, I got to do this video. Then I'm backlogged on different collaborations I've been doing, and I'm editing videos, and then I'm putting in, and I have a music deadline that still existed beforehand, all that stuff. So I'm just trying to balance it all, and I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting there. So that's my daily schedule. Waking up in the morning, I come down, and depending on what's going on, I'm starting to now have a block of just creative content where I'm editing stuff that needs to be edited and putting some stuff together. I'll take a little break, and then I'll focus on maybe social engagement. I'll do some live streams, and I'll do some stuff like that. And maybe I'll just work on, you know, craft and practice some of the, you know, whether it's music stuff that I'll work on that I just want to get better at. And then, you know, focus on other things that are going on. So like there's stuff that's like sort of deadline based that I have to get to like actual work on, but that's okay. And then maybe I'll wrap up with some content to prep for the next day. But now I'm in that process of getting it all together. But it's all, you know, it's all good, crazy. That's what I like. You were, and I interrupted you before. So what was your question?
No, I just want to know when you get a chance to eat.
Mm.
When you eat, when you sleep, like.
Another thing. That's another thing. I think since quarantine, I've probably been inhaling a pie of pizza a day. It's not good.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I mean, it goes in waves. So I eat all the time throughout whatever. I try now to keep it in that like intermittent fasting sort of thing when I can during the week, where if I just skip breakfast, this is not good nutrition advice, but if I skip breakfast and have like just coffee and basically have water with me all day, that's really important, just keeping water on me. So I'm sipping throughout the day as I'm working. Then I'll like not eat till way later in the afternoon and have like a little window or something. So it keeps it, I have like a little window in the afternoon to eat. And when I eat, I inhale. I'm like Kirby. Remember the Kirby game? You know. Yeah.
So what's your, forgive me for putting words in your mind or in your life, but what I feel that you're most infamously known for during this quarantine is the huge collaboration that you did with the seven different impersonators / comedians. But you've also collaborated with other comedians / impersonators throughout this quarantine. How do you coordinate that schedule?
Right, for collaborations. It's a little choppy on my feed here, so I just want to make sure. You're hearing me and it's clear, because I had to take the headphones out. Is that cool? You still?
I can hear you. And if you guys can't hear him, please let us know in the comments.
Yeah. I don't want to make sure, because you're coming in a little choppy in here, and I just want to make sure it's all good. Everybody here, everything okay? You can do thumbs up emojis and
thumbs up, guys, or hearts.
So, okay, as far as that schedule, so it's funny, what's been amazing about the Instagram community in particular is there's, you know, you can find people on TikTok that you like, and like the DMing community is pretty responsive. Like you can reach out to people, and there's been several groups of impressionists. We've all found each other on Instagram, and, you know, there's groups that have formed, and you DM someone saying, you know, I found the person I did the Kourtney Kardashian video with, Andrea Lopez comedy.
So good.
Incredible Kourtney Kardashian. I found it on TikTok, and you go to, because TikTok's a little more restrictive over who you can message. So I DM'd her on Instagram. I'm like, oh my God, your Kourtney's killing me. She loved the Gary Vee thing. So we, you know, got together, and I've been with, you know, through Zoom doing all these kinds of collaborations. I've got one coming out this week, a Gary Vee, Matthew McConaughey spoof of his recent interview with Matthew McConaughey, but it's me as Gary Vee with with another impressionist, Ryan Golcher, who I did the Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson video with, and he also does a killer Matthew McConaughey. So stay tuned this week for that. It's probably going up on YouTube tomorrow and Instagram later this week. But an incredible talent, and we're all like finding each other. And right now it's this little playground, you know? So
I like that. It's a playground. I like that a lot. Okay, so do you think that cancel culture is negatively impacting comedians or giving them more exposure?
I think, you know, I feel a little bit above my, that feels a little above my purview because I haven't been in the stand-up world as an authority on it the way a lot more established comedians just who've been in those trenches have, working college campuses and experiencing that. But just from my observational sense, I'm getting a sense that people are getting a little bit tired of that, you know, like looking for an excuse to be offended mentality and realizing like, guys, life's exhausting and painful enough and laughter's important. And in the context of a joke, if the joke works and we're laughing, then it's okay. And I feel like a small group of activists make a lot more noise than the majority of reasonable people if you go into a club who just like to laugh. So if you give a small segment of, I do think it's a real problem and it's a real thing in the culture. And it's concerning to me, and it's concerning to see. But I feel like only at the largest levels would it ever probably be an issue. And I'm not at that level comedy-wise to ever really come across it just yet. But you know, they're not going to go after sort of the independent Instagram comics that are up and coming right now in my circles. So we're not really targets, but I think the idea of it is awful and not taking people, you know, in good faith and with good intention, even if a joke doesn't work, you know. The point is, if it's intended to be funny and it is funny, even if it is offensive, like if you're laughing, that means you're just exposing a truth that is like, or some kind of idea that's resonating in a certain way. And to be able to laugh at it means you can get through it together. It's the way we can all sort of peacefully bond and coexist over things that make us laugh. And it, I think, breaks down barriers when you say these kinds of offensive things, but you do it comedically. That's sort of an expression to me of love, not antagonizing. It's an expression of like empathy for other people, to use a Gary Vee term. Empathy. Like if you can joke, like think about when you think about your closest friends, it's your closest friends in the world that you can say the worst stuff to, you know, in jest, and they know it's from a good place. So I think in comedy, it applies the same way. When we're making jokes, it's not to marginalize or belittle people. It's almost to elevate them. If everyone's laughing together, like as long as everybody's at the same standard across the board, we can all laugh at each other's imperfections and we can recognize each other's virtues as well. So yeah, I think the idea of cancel culture is terrible. I think that curve is like we're rounding that corner a little bit, where people are just exhausted with. I think there's a little bit of a mentality of like, oh, enough, stop. You know, I'm feeling that, but that's really more from a very distant observation kind of thing. You know.
I love that. I love that answer. Who are some of your musical influences?
Musical influences. I'm definitely like a child of pop music. Growing up in those, I'm a '90s kid, so I love.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking? How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
34.
Oh, we're the same age.
Yeah. I'm 34. So '90s all the way. I loved like, but also I'm a bassist and vocalist. So like, I grew up musically. My music education was Rage Against the Machine, Red Hot Chili Peppers, a lot of groove stuff. Love Michael Jackson, some Motown stuff, and a lot of pop. I like smart pop. That's sort of my favorite combination of things. Some like Charlie Puth these days. I'm a big fan of Charlie Puth. People who have, and once I was a late bloomer to the Beatles, but like things that are musically sophisticated but done in a very, very subtle way, to me is the best thing, because it's easy to be very complicated musically. Not technically easy to do, but conceptually easy to just make everything complicated. But when you can actually like really simplify something, but still, you know, have some sophistication musically, that's the stuff that gets me the most. It's a little vague, and it's always hard to pin down influences. You know, I'm just like, I like what I like. It's kind of everything. Did
you like Across the Universe, the movie?
I did not like that movie. No.
No, every Beatles fan says that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't want to. I'm not a purist on the Beatles fan thing. Like I said, I was a late bloomer. It wasn't until like I went to music school at Berklee College of Music in Boston, and that's when I discovered an appreciation for the Beatles. Like my family did not grow up playing Beatles all over the house and stuff. So for me, I was always listening to it with like, I liked a little more of a produced kind of sound, but then I started to like analyze the music and see what was going on, and it was really, you know, mind opening for me. But that movie was just, everything is so forced, in my opinion. You're just like, okay, here's some actors, and now they're singing Beatles songs, and that's it, you know. So,
but it's always very hard to make a musical into a movie.
Very hard
like,
to pull it off.
It's very
I swear
hard.
by Newsies. I'll swear by Newsies till, you know, as one of the greatest. But maybe I was a kid and maybe it was just easier to pull off. But Newsies is awesome. But today, for some reason, they're just harder to digest. Musicals. I don't know what it is, but they're just hard. There's something a little bit more like forced about them than they used to be.
For sure.
You know.
I agree. I so agree. Okay. Okay. What are you eating this Thanksgiving?
What am I eating? Everything. What am I eating this Thanksgiving? Obviously, you know, turkey, stuffing. What else? I don't know. I think I just kind of, I'm just going to inhale what's in front of me. I love it all. Yeah, I'm not too picky. I just like good. And I like food.
So airline tickets are at an all-time low right now. And right now they're doing BOGOs. I don't know if you saw that.
What's that?
They're doing buy one, get one on airline tickets.
Okay, cool.
So if you're going to buy an airline ticket today, where are you going?
Oh, man. That's a fun question. Where am I going? I think I'm going to fly to Texas and knock on Joe Rogan's door and see if he can have me at the ranch and we can just hang out. But that sounds a little stalkerish. But that just, I live in LA. I'm from the suburbs, but I've been out of the suburbs for a long time, and I kind of like that LA has been a hybrid city suburb kind of vibe. But more recently, in the past few months, it has. I don't see good things for LA in the future as far as like a hot spot place to be, especially given what we're talking about, that, you know, people used to have to come to certain geographic locations in order to develop their creative craft and get exposure and opportunities. But now you can really build these, you know, fan bases and audiences organically in such a, and it's really special, but that also means it opens up opportunities for people to be all over the place. So why live in a super expensive city that's a bit, you know, worn down at this point, when you could, you know, now the idea of suburban life has kind of, I've come around to it, and just being in a nice, natural, comfortable space and just do what I do from wherever. Like that remote sort of mentality is appealing to me more than, because if nothing is happening and you can't go anywhere, like what is this? What's the appeal of a city, you know? So I don't know.
Wow.
You know, but I also have a lot of family on the East Coast. So the real answer is I'd take a plane to the East Coast and go see some family.
But you're safe right now, because I know there's tons of fires happening in California.
Yeah, luckily where I am, I mean, the worst we've had it in LA is like you go outside and the air quality, that was a weird day. You go outside and it looked like the whole, everything was like a Instagram filter, like sepia or something. It was like the air quality was gross. Gosh. And it was close, but not too close. And we were not in those like valley areas where it was really bad. But you're just like, you really feel like the apocalypse sometimes with everything going on in LA. And all of a sudden now you can't breathe outside. It's like, you know, lockdown, you can't go anywhere, and then just to go outside is a problem. So I was like, what is going on here?
Oh my God.
We have a question here. Who's my favorite person to impersonate?
Who's your favorite person to impersonate?
Oh, you know, it varies all the time. The real question is, who are your guys' favorite for me to impersonate? Because
I do have a question.
You know?
Can I ask a question to Gary Vee?
Absolutely. Let me just, I have to do my Gary Vee transformation, if you don't mind.
Okay.
It takes a while. Just 1 second. Gary, Ashley's got a question for you. Okay. Fucking love it. What's your question?
Okay. Gary, how do I stop being so sad?
Stop.
Okay.
Okay? Like, it's sad that people are sad, but like ultimately it's all about perspective. It's perspective. Like, Ashley, ultimately being sad is a choice. Okay? And like, you're smiling as you ask me that question, so I don't fucking believe you.
Okay. Okay, but Gary, I'm broke.
That's okay. I love to lose. Being fucking broke, as long as you're happy, there's no such thing as broke, okay?
Thank you, Gary. This has been an honor talking to you.
The fact that you're laughing while asking me why you're so sad means I don't even believe you, and you shouldn't believe you either, okay? Don't give into the negativity, Ashley, okay? Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Look,
You're so good. You're so good.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
What are you gonna buy with your first $1 million?
My first $1 million. Oh, yeah. Wow. I don't know. It's not about the money, okay? Like, I'm just gonna buy more positivity. You can answer questions like that as Gary Vee. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Okay, where can we like you, stalk you, follow you, all that fun stuff?
Oh, sure. Okay. We're here at AJ Comedy on Instagram, at AJ Comedy or Ami Kozak Official. I think both of those tags work, but at AJ Comedy on Instagram, TikTok at AJ Comedy, and then YouTube is actually starting to get some good buzz too. Really, really grateful to everyone who's gone over to YouTube and started subscribing. So that's at Ami Kozak Official on YouTube. Comedy, music, all good fun stuff over there, and more long form comedy as well, because obviously we know Instagram, TikTok, IGTV has a little bit of longer stuff you could post, but it's mostly short form, a short form medium. YouTube allows for some more extended conversations with Gary Vee. And also for Jordan Peterson, you know, if you want to hear a really long lecture, you know, you can go over to YouTube. It's mostly men, but Ashley, you're welcome to go. So.
No, this is what I wanted to say earlier, that the collab that you did, I forgot his name, forgive me, but I think he's so funny. With Ben Shapiro.
Yeah. Yes. Ben Shapiro.
I show that to everyone. Everyone. I'm like,
you guys should follow at Ryan Goldtree. He does a great Ben Shapiro and many more amazing impressions. We have another collaboration coming out probably this week or next, but very soon. It'll be Gary Vee and Matthew McConaughey. He's doing it. He does it better than me, but he does Matthew McConaughey as well. So we're gonna be talking. Ashley. We're gonna be shooting the shit. You know what I'm saying? Like vibing real hard. All right. It's me and him. And wait till you hear his version because it blows mine out of the water. It's Gary Vee. If anybody saw the Gary Vee interview with Matthew McConaughey, we spoofed it. And I was editing it today. And when you're laughing at your own edit as you're making it, it's a good sign. So that's going to be up on YouTube tomorrow, I believe. And then hopefully this week, we'll start seeing some clips on IGTV and TikTok. So make sure to follow me over there at AJ Comedy.
And then before we let you go, what advice would you give to someone who wants to make content, but they're scared?
But they're scared?
Yeah.
You're triggering Gary Vee me. But I'll be serious for a second.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll circle back to what I initially said. You know, it's such an important thing, I think, for anybody out there who wants to do it. It's so simple, but you have to do it, and you don't know yourself as well as you might think you do. You know, we a lot of times tend to label ourselves, and in labeling ourselves, you limit yourself creatively. Well, I do this, but I don't do this. You know, for years, I was a bass player and a singer. That's what I was creatively. That was the extent of it. And I didn't do anything music tech. I didn't do anything music production. I didn't do any of that stuff in my musical life. I was like, no, I'm a bass player and a singer. Those were my two things. And I do impressions for fun. Like that was it, right? Then I moved to LA. I started working with more people, and I started doing more ad work and composing work, and then all of a sudden I was a music producer, and people were coming to me to produce their records. And all of a sudden then I guess that made me a music producer by just doing it and learning those skills. And it's a hard grind, but developing the craft, putting in the work, you become these other things. And I quickly stopped letting the fact that me telling myself I'm a bass player and a singer meant I'm not touching these areas. If you would have asked me at the time, am I going to be producing records for the band that I'm in and doing and mixing them and doing all the post work and stuff and being fluent in that language and that skill set, I would have said, are you kidding me? No, I would have had to partner with other people to do that. But no, turns out that's what I am now as well. If you would have told me that I'm going to have an audience that I'm doing comedy for, I would have said, oh, you know, my friends know I do comedy, but other people don't. Occasionally on stage, on a musical concert, I'll do a joke or an impression. But you know, obviously the rest is history there. So don't let the labels limit you. And then once you're willing to impart on it and do it, like, you know, the act of doing something consistently takes just as much work as getting better at the thing you're putting out itself. Like there is, like I said, it's a fitness to being consistent and persistent with your work and output. So you will learn about yourself and your own content the way your audience will too, and you will grow with it. I look back at some of the first songs I ever made or some of the first posts I ever made, and yeah, I could critique them up the wazoo because they're not up to the standard that I would have now. But as long as they're your best foot forward at the time, that's all you can do. And you know, there's that, I think it was Gary Vee even who said, it's not quantity over quality, it's quantity leads to quality. In all the things that you're doing, you have to practice it and do it. And that encompasses not just making the content, but posting it and putting it out there consistently. You get better at posting it and putting it out there. Your identity gets more shaped and more comfortable. Your sensibilities for what works and what doesn't work gets better. As you get feedback from your audience and you get a relationship with them, get more comfortable with them, then you can explore more things. And keep in mind also at the same time to be self-aware. And if you're trying something over and over again and it doesn't seem to work, it's not inauthentic of you to pivot into a different thing and try a different approach creatively to do something, whether it's a different style of music that you might like or explore, or it's a different style of editing or whatever it may be. Do not limit yourself for the sake of authenticity. Changing and adapting is part of who you are as well, because you don't know yourself the way you think you do. Jordan Peterson said, you don't know half of what you're capable of. You don't know yourself at all. Don't even for a moment think you know yourself. You don't, and that's that. So it's true. You don't really know yourself. You think you know yourself, and you know yourself only up until this moment. You don't know what you will be in a few months from now until you apply yourself and do things differently. And it sounds a little cliche and vague, but the point is, it's very hard to do things consistently. And one practical advice I'll say on how to do those things, because it's very easy to say do those things, and then what happens, you take all this advice and you go, yeah, I'll do it, I will do that, and then you don't do it. So what I will say is, I read a really good book by a guy named Scott Adams. He's the creator of the Dilbert comic strip. You know Dilbert, right? So famous Dilbert cartoon, and he wrote a book called How to Fail at Everything and Still Win Big, something like that. So check out that book, because he talks about the fact that your brain and your systems that you put into place, they're all hackable in a way. It's not just a matter of free will. We're not really, he kind of has this theory that we don't have free choice. We have to create environments around ourselves that will prime us to do certain things and guide us throughout the day. So for years, I wanted to do that, consistent, persistent, apply all those principles, but you just don't do it. You're like, why am I not doing it? Why am I not eating better? Why am I not doing this and that? So in certain areas of my life, I'm not doing what I'd want to be doing, but in the area of consistent output and stuff, I started doing it. So what changed? I wrote things down next to me on a big smartboard, a big whiteboard, right next to me. I created an environment around me where when I sat down subconsciously, there was a list of things I wanted to happen for the year, sort of like affirmations, but I made little systems that I could do daily. And I looked at it as systems, not goals. This was an important idea in the book. Systems, not goals. So what does that mean? It means, don't say, I want to get to 50,000 followers on TikTok. Say, I'm going to post every day on TikTok. That's going to be my system. I'm going to make something every day. So I literally, for a year in 2019, had something called Make Something Every Day. And instead of reacting to whatever was out there, like a project came in and I had to write music for it, I would just make music on a daily basis for a fixed amount of time. And now I have a bunch of tracks and stuff that can go in all different directions and can inspire different things. But I became primed to have a built-up sensibility of doing something consistently. So I did that by writing that stuff down in front of me every day, things I wanted to accomplish, things I wanted to do. And I put that next to me so that when I sit down at my workstation, it's like there. And every time my head turns, my eyes gloss over it, whether it's conscious or subconscious. But that seemed to change things. I actually seemed to behave differently because of that. So I was hacking my environment so that I would react and behave in certain ways subconsciously that would actually accomplish the things that I mentally at the end of a day or a year and say, man, I want to get better at that software. I wish I could edit video better. So instead of just saying that in 2019 or whatever it was, whatever changed for me, I wrote down lighting, camera, things like that. What does it say? It says it over here somewhere. I don't know. Video production, shooting, lighting. I want to be able to do that stuff. I want to get better at that. And somehow magically this year or whatever it was, I have these things that are just happening around me that I'm doing, and it's my will that's doing it. But just to reiterate that point, I'm creating an environment around me that's cueing those behaviors. So that's the actual concrete step, because I think a lot of times there's a lot of macro advice and not enough micro advice. You hear a lot of good, I've gone to plenty of conferences and things and heard a lot of great macro advice, and you go, yeah. You come home, sit down, and you go, what am I supposed to do? And especially for creative people, we're naturally very reactive. You give a creative person a task or something to do, boom, they can do it. In 24 hours, you can do it. But in the proactive side of things, that's where our weakness is, and certainly where my weakness was, being proactive on how to do things. So consistent output, persistent and patience, you know. But really, like being able to do that, you get better at all the things involved, the creative side of things, the technical side of things, and it all, you know, with consistency gets better and improved. So that is my, you know, advice to go out on.
And I know that I said that this was the last question, but I did, someone did ask another question. Did you just see that?
No, I gotta go. No, yeah, sure. What's
no, don't say that. Do you feel the Jordan Peterson impressions take away from your music?
Take away from my music? What? If you want to follow up with that question, why would they do that exactly? Just so I can make sense of the question.
They said, do you feel like the impressions take away from you focusing on your music?
Oh, okay. Do I think just doing impressions? No, like I said, you know, you can have more than one kid. Love both kids. Give both kids attention, raise two very, very successful children. So the problem was I was really just neglecting one child for way too long, keeping him or her, whatever, keeping that thing more of a private thing and for no reason at all. So I'm now giving that the exposure, and I think it all enhances. It's a rising tide lifts all boats kind of scenario where the more attention, you know, you're getting as a creative that I'm getting in building an audience on these platforms, you know, it helps everything else. So, you know, having people like what you do is having people like what you do. And I appreciate every one of you for coming along on this ride. Okay.
I appreciate you for your time, and I appreciate you for existing. Thank you for being born.
Oh, thank you. Very kind. Thanks for having me on. It was really fun talking to you.
You too. Thank you. All right. You have a good night.
You too. Thanks.